Terry, speak to us about what you touched on a little earlier, that the last 5 months isn't responsible for crippling our economy. It just was a contributing factor to our economy that was already looking down.
You know, it's like this whole thing they keep talking, I keep hearing it on various media, that 36 billion or whatever has been lost.
Yes, yes.
That's nonsense. The point is that all the mining companies, until about this month, which is I think also one of the reasons that we actually had a settlement, had a lot of stockpiles. They had an inventory of already mined and processed metal. I mean, none of the forward sales were abrogated. All the platinum continued to be sold abroad, continued to be sold and to meet all their forward sales agreements, etc., because it was already there. It could actually be argued, although they had maintenance to pay on the mines, it could actually be argued that it was more profitable because that was they were not paying the miners. What they did lose was production. But that's another factor. I mean, so production, so what? Because they had the stockpile of already mined metal. So, you know, I think it wasn't that much of a damage. In any event, platinum is not that big a contributor to GDP, far smaller than most people tend to give it credit for.
Although we don't really know this, and it certainly wasn't widely reported.
No. There's been very poor reporting, and I think one of the reasons for this is that, A, we don't have specialist reporters anymore because of the way the media has been run down as part, again, of this overall global economic crisis. We used to have, I know when I started doing an Inside Labour column 18 years ago, there would have been, I don't know, about 20 of us who were Labour sort of concentrated on Labour, I hate the word experts, but specialists, shall we say, Labour editors, Labour reporters, Labour correspondents. I ended up being just about the only one. And that's symptomatic of what's happening in the media. So you get someone who's going to have to produce 3-4 stories a day. Environment here, economics there, mining there. They haven't got time to concentrate. They rely more on quick handouts. And the people who are better at it are usually the companies. The unions are actually very bad at it very often, mainly because they suspect the media, they're suspicious of them, all that sort of thing, which is also a bad thing, I think. But it's a reality. And so people grab at it. Oh, lovely. We went to a meeting a little while ago with specialists, real specialists from mining, and one of the people from Implats was there who talked about saying we did a telephonic survey of some of our miners, and 85% of them said they wanted to come to work but were afraid to. Well, that was reported as a fact. 85% of miners want to go back, but they're intimidated. One, he didn't say how many miners they contacted. He couldn't contact the majority by telephone anyhow. Two, and I have personal experience of this with particularly farm workers, if you go and you interview a group of farm workers with the farmer present, what they tell you then is vastly different from what they tell you when the farmer's not present. Because workers will tell the management, the owner, what they think the owner wants to hear, especially if they want to keep their jobs. But that gets reported, and it's reported out of context. And I think that's been one of the problems, and I'm glad because I think this strike has, and the way it's been reported, has actually educated a lot of people. I think people are more aware now of the wage and welfare gap in the country, the conditions under which miners work and live, and the need perhaps for trade unions as a balancing factor within the society. They're not there as an alternative to society. They're actually a product of society.
And before we wrap up, are there any closing thoughts or things you'd like to add?
Well, just that I hope that there's an awareness of what is looming ahead of us, and government in particular should take heed. We now have the biggest cabinet, I think, in the world. Some people, at least Nwako Ramatlhodi, the mines minister, seems to know what he's doing. Some of the others would question their competence, but certainly would, and given their previous records. But I would just hope that Ramatlhodi and a few people who know what they're doing manage to chivvy the others on to do something serious and pull together something which will at least help to avert what could be a social crisis. And the people who will suffer will not be the economy or the companies or even the government. It will be ordinary working people, and particularly people in the rural areas.